Dallas, Texas, April. Late evening. Lona Ford had always loved the stillness of her home after a long day. Their luxury penthouse apartment on the 27th floor overlooked the Trinity River. The city lights glittered like diamonds. She placed her handbag on the entryway table and kicked off her heels with a soft sigh. She was home early. Richard didn't expect her for another hour. Their 10th wedding anniversary was coming up. Lona had been planning a surprise getaway. She'd even gotten the keys today to a secluded lake house in Broken Bow. But as she walked past the hallway mirror, something unfamiliar clung to the air. Perfume. Sweet. Powdery. Floral. Not hers. Lona wore black orchid. This was something cheaper. Young. Loud. She turned and sniffed her blouse. Nothing. She checked her wrist. Nothing. She walked toward the master bedroom. The scent grew stronger. A chill climbed her spine. She paused. Heart steady. Eyes narrowed. Her phone buzzed. A text from Richard. Running late, babe. Work emergency. Might crash at hotel. She smiled softly, not with warmth, but with realization. She walked to the bathroom. It was spotless, except for one thing, a single strand of long blonde hair on her black marble sink. She was black. Richard had dark hair. There was no reason for blonde hair to be in her house, unless someone had been there recently. Lona didn't panic. She didn't cry. She simply walked to the nightstand and opened the drawer. Inside was the vintage Cartier watch she had bought Richard last year. She picked it up and turned it over. The back was engraved. Forever, even when it's hard, Lona. She slipped it into her purse and left. Some women cry when they find out. Some scream. I went shopping for evidence. The next day, downtown Dallas, Lona sat in her studio, going over her client's redesign plans, but her mind was elsewhere. She opened her iPad and searched. Machel Card Instagram. It was a hunch. She'd once seen a name pop up in Richard's notifications, Machel. She thought nothing of it. Until now. The account was public. Photos of a young blonde at a hotel bar. Selfies with filtered hearts. Wine glasses. Business conference tags. One photo caught her eye. The Cord Group, downtown Hilton. There he was. Richard. His arm casually draped around Machel's chair. Both smiling. Too close. Lona exhaled. Then bookmarked the post. 1 week later. Lona didn't tell him she knew. Instead, she did the opposite. She baked his favorite cookies. Made dinner reservations. Acted normal. She bought herself a new wardrobe. She even started going through their finances. Joint savings, $280,000. Investment account, $850,000. Richard's company, privately owned, but tied to 3 silent partners. She met with her lawyer. Quietly filed for financial forensics. Then, she made a phone call to a private investigator. I need proof. Photos. Locations. Anything tied to a woman named Machel Card. 2 weeks later, a manila envelope arrived. Inside were printed photos. Richard and Machel entering a hotel. Holding hands in public. Her in a robe at a balcony suite. Lona stared at them one by one. She didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She simply whispered, "Perfect. Now we wait. Dinner for the damned." 2 months later, Dallas Art District. The spring gala for the Dallas Interior Designers League was Lona's annual night to shine. As a rising star in luxury home design, her face was now on billboards, her portfolio featured in Southern Living. Richard. He was busy, working late. Lona walked into the gala in a wine-red silk gown. Confident. Glowing. Alone. Photographers snapped her photo as she passed. But tonight wasn't about glamour. It was about setting the stage. 2 days earlier, Lona's office. You sure you want to go through with this? The voice of her best friend, Kendra, buzzed over speakerphone. Yes, Lona said, staring at her MacBook. I'm done crying in secret. Now, I build my own theater and burn it down with them in the front row. She clicked send on the final guest list. An elegant digital invitation popped up. Enterprises Appreciation Dinner, hosted by Lona Ford. Location, the Cord Residence. Dress code, formal. To celebrate 10 years of partnership, love, and growth. The plan, invite Richard, Machel, Richard's partners, their board, and the top influencers in their world. Make it elegant. Make it sweet. Then poison them with truth. Day of the dinner, the Cord Residence. Lona oversaw everything. White orchids, crystal glasses, personalized menus with calligraphy, a string quartet by the fireplace. Richard didn't suspect a thing. He actually seemed smug. I told Machel I couldn't make our trip to Miami, he whispered in her ear during setup. You've been looking amazing lately, babe. She smiled. Thanks, love. I've been preparing this night for a while. He kissed her cheek and walked away. She wiped it with a silk napkin. 7 p.m. Guests begin to arrive. Richard's business partners, old friends, bloggers. Machel Card arrived last. She wore a champagne gown. Her hand clutched a tiny Gucci purse. Her smile was tight when she saw Lona. Miss Card, Lona greeted. So glad you came. I wasn't sure if... Oh, please, Lona interrupted. You're part of the family now. That stung. Lona saw it in her eyes. But Machel didn't know. Every room had hidden cameras. Every mic was live. Dinner begins. Lona stood to give a toast. Glass in hand. To partnerships, to business, to love, and to loyalty. Everyone clapped. Richard kissed her hand. Then she added, and now, I'd like to play a little video. The TV above the fireplace flickered on. Security footage appeared. Time-stamped. Dated. Clear footage. Richard and Machel. In hotel lobbies. Holding hands. Richard kissing Machel in a private elevator. Richard laughing in a robe while Machel wore the same one. Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a glass. Machel went pale. Richard stood up. Lona, what the hell is this? She stepped forward, calm as ever. That's what you look like when I'm not around. But don't worry. I've edited out the worst parts for dinner. Chaos. Richard tried to grab the remote. Too late. His partners already stood up. You lied to us. You risked the company's reputation. Machel burst into tears. You said she was cold. You said you were leaving her. Lona just walked to the door and turned the knob. Thank you for coming, everyone. I'll send desserts to your hotel rooms. The guests filed out, whispering. Machel stormed out last, shoes in hand. Later that night, Lona stood on the balcony, glass of wine in hand. Behind her, Richard begged. Lona, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Let's fix this. She turned slowly. Oh, Richard, this wasn't about heartbreak. She handed him an envelope. Inside were copies of financial records proving he funneled company money for personal trips. Emails with Machel attached to business deals, a conflict of interest. Her divorce papers, and her new real estate LLC. This was business. And I just outplayed you. The following morning, news break. Lona didn't need to leak anything herself. Within hours of the dinner, someone from the guest list had already posted clips from the scandal dinner to TikTok. A fashion blogger uploaded a reel titled, "This Dallas wife found out her husband was cheating and destroyed him in front of everyone. Watch the toast." The story spread like wildfire. Within 24 hours, local news stations picked it up. Business gossip blogs ran headlines. CEO Richard Cord's private scandal goes public at anniversary dinner. Richard's company, Cord and Ford Enterprises. The board met within 48 hours. Lona had made sure of it by emailing all relevant financial discrepancies to Richard's partners herself. She never had to raise her voice. Just raised the right documents. By Friday, Richard was placed on indefinite leave. His accounts were frozen pending investigation. Lona's lawyer initiated an audit of all shared properties and assets. Lona didn't speak to Richard directly again. She let the silence say everything. Machel Card, ghosted and exposed. After the dinner disaster, Machel tried calling Richard. Texting. Dmang. He didn't respond. She went from the other woman to the woman he left behind in less than a week. Her name became a meme. On her Instagram, someone commented, "You wore a robe in her house, sis. You deserve every tear." Her brand deals vanished. The PR firm she worked for asked her to take an indefinite personal break. She finally messaged Lona. "Lona, I know I was wrong. I really thought he was leaving you. I didn't know everything. I'm sorry. Please, don't ruin me." Lona's reply. "I didn't ruin you. He did. You just helped. Heal on your own dime." Lona's new life. 3 months later. She moved into her own modern loft in uptown Dallas, bought outright in her name only. She launched her own design firm, Lona Luxe Spaces, a brand focused on high-end homes for ambitious women. Her slogan, "Build the life they said you'd never survive." Her social media exploded. Women around the country messaged her with stories of betrayal and admiration. She was invited to speak on local TV, then national podcasts. A quiet day at the coffee shop. 3 months later, Lona sat at a sunlit table, sipping her lavender latte and reviewing a luxury ranch client's portfolio. A woman approached her, maybe mid-30s, nervous. "Excuse me, are you Lona Ford?" Lona looked up and smiled. "Yes, I am." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Your story helped me leave a man I should have left years ago. You gave me courage. Thank you." Lona stood and hugged her. "You gave it to yourself. I just lit the match." Meanwhile, Richard, he moved into a smaller condo. His name was a liability now. He tried pitching a new company. No one would invest. Even his former friends kept their distance. The only calls he got were from reporters, lawyers, or women trying to collab on a scandal podcast. Lona never blocked his number. But she never picked up again. 6 months later, New York City. The glass conference room overlooked Manhattan. Inside, Lona Ford sat at the head of a table, effortlessly commanding the room. She was closing a deal with a private equity firm to expand Lona Luxe Spaces to Beverly Hills, Miami, and Chicago. A man across the table smiled. "You've built quite a reputation, Ms. Ford. Strong, elegant, unshakable." Lona nodded. "Thank you. But don't mistake elegance for mercy." He raised an eyebrow. "Just ask my ex-husband." Back in Dallas, 1-year anniversary of the dinner. Lona returned for a private event hosted in her honor at the Dallas Art Museum. She wore black silk, her hair in a sleek bun, a small diamond choker. As she mingled, a waiter approached. "Miss Ford," a man outside asked if he could speak to you. Said his name was Richard. The music suddenly felt louder. Lona nodded. "Tell him I'll be out in a minute." Outside, the parking lot. Richard looked older, thinner. He wore a wrinkled suit and held a worn envelope. "Lona," he said softly, I just wanted to apologize." She folded her arms. 12 months too late. He nodded, eyes hollow. "I lost everything. The business, the house, friends. Even Machel moved away. She's working retail now. I deserve all of it." He handed her the envelope. "It's the deed to the Austin Lake house. I signed it over. I thought, maybe you could sell it. Or burn it. Or whatever." Lona didn't take it. "You keep it. I don't need pieces of a broken life." She leaned in. "But you know what I do need?" He blinked. "What?" "Peace. And I finally have it." She turned and walked away. 1 week later, at the lake house. Lona drove out to the lake alone. Not to take the house, but to leave something behind. She stood on the dock as the sun set, holding a glass bottle. Inside, a printed copy of Richard's first love note to her, a photo from their wedding, and her final quote, "Thank you for breaking me. I rebuilt better." She dropped the bottle into the water, watched it sink, turned around. New beginnings. Back in Dallas, Lona accepted a dinner invitation from a man she'd met at the New York conference, Maxim Gilbert, an investor who respected her story and adored her strength. They laughed over dinner, talked design. He didn't talk down to her, or over her. At the end, he said, "You're not what I expected." She smiled. "Good. I never want to be."